This is a free call, but donations are being accepted every month to organizations across the globe that are supporting those that are significantly impacted during these challenging times. This month, we're supporting the California Fire Foundation, which provides critical support to victims, firefighters, and communities affected by wildfire and disaster throughout California, which is just a lot of what's happening right now. So we wanted to support in the California fires. So I will give you that that link in the chat box if you'd like to donate. It's optional, but every little bit counts. And that link is cafirefoundation.org. I also just wanted to point out, last month I talked about the Art of Spiritual Intimacy online co-ed immersion that we're offering with John and his teacher, David Data, who will be guest teaching. Very exciting. I want to point out that we sold out of our feminine spots yesterday, but we do have a wait list for feminine spots. We still have spots for couples or people who are coming with a partner, and also for masculine practitioners. So I will put the link for that in the chat box. That's December 4th through the 6th. We still have spots for couples and for masculine practitioners, and we have a wait list for the feminine. Our next community call is going to be on Tuesday, November 3rd at 7 a.m., same time, Pacific time. And we're going to continue through December. So 2 more of these today. I hear you, John. We're going to get started.
Yeah, no problem. Just clear.
Okay, so if you have any questions, you can chat with me privately. I'm here for you. And I'm going to turn it over to John.
Hey, everybody. You can hear me and see me okay? All right, I'm in St. George, Utah on the way to Montana and then to Mount Shasta. So the Wi-Fi here is a little iffy. If it goes out or it gets kind of choppy, I'll probably stop my video so that you can still hear me and I can see you, but that might help. Hopefully it seems to be holding up all right, so it seems to be good. I'm gonna start with just a little breathing practice, really short, like 3-4 minutes. So what I'd like you to do is sit in a place where your butt really feels connected to the earth, especially your roots. So this could be cross-legged, it could be sitting zazen like I am, it could be sitting in a chair, your feet firmly planted into the earth, but it's really more important that your root chakra feels connected to the earth. So you can start even by pressing down through your ribs or through the root of your heart. You know, that bottom piece of your heart, maybe we'll talk about it today, is really the deepest place of your heart. It's the densest place of your heart. And it also just the way that, you know, the gods set it up is that it's pointed directly at your genitals. So it's a very interesting part of your body and a part of your body that really needs to be awoken. Here's the breath. It's like you're sipping through a straw down to your perineum, which is basically your root chakra. And you're going to be sipping in through a straw, in and out, right? Through these pursed lips. And as you do it, you're going to just do a gentle rock, like you're kind of grinding your perineum into the earth. So it's and I want you to bring all your awareness now, continue that. I want you to bring all your awareness down to that root, down to the root, and actually feel as you're rocking back and forth, you're massaging it, you're waking it up, you're giving it some love, you're bringing blood flow, you're connecting down to the earth. So you could also imagine that from your root chakra, you're literally rooting down into the earth, plunging a root into the earth or a root system into the earth, whatever image comes to mind. And just keep going. Real gentle rock. So it's just basically imagine that your pubic bone, your sacrum and your pubic bone are just moving in tandem together a couple of inches back and forth, or an inch back and forth, really gently. And you should start to feel a warmth down there. You should start to feel a warmth in your root chakra. Should start to wake up a little bit. Maybe it feels kind of good. Nothing wrong with a little pleasure in the morning. Keep the breath up, keep the breath up. And imagine that that straw basically ends at your perineum. And then allow the warmth that you're generating by this rock, allow it to rise up the center column of your body. That's the column that goes up through your cervix if you're a woman, up through the lower navel chakras, up through the liver, the heart, all the way up to the throat. So just allow this warmth to really rise up your body. Imagine that it's rising up your body. And see if you can actually feel it in that root of your heart that I'm talking about. Just another 90 seconds. Keep going, keep going. Good. And bring all of your awareness. Don't let your mind drift. Be disciplined. Bring all of your awareness now to the center column of your body, from your throat all the way down to your root chakra. And feel how the center column of your body, it's the deepest part of your body. So when you talk about deep sex or deep relating or deep awareness, this is the part of the body that needs to be awake. Keep allowing that warmth to rise up through your cervix, through your womb, if you're a woman, through your dantian, your lower navel, up through the genitals, up into the belly. Really feel I want you to connect that root of your heart, the bottom of your heart, to this root chakra. Just another 30 seconds. You know, your root chakra may have not gotten this much love and attention in years, so enjoy it. And then in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, take a nice deep inhale in. Exhale it all out. And really press down now through the base of the heart, the root of the heart, down into the chakra, down into the earth. So see if you can root your heart and root your lower body, root your perineum, your genitals. Really feel the connection to the earth. Hold your breath out. Focus, focus. Just press everything down, 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 down. Inhale. Again, press down, pack it down, pack that energy down into your genitals, down into your belly, down into your womb. Lots of love, send lots of love. You can feel that part of your body smiling. You can feel your heart smiling. And then go ahead and exhale. And hello. Okay. All right, now, who's first, Nicolette?
Ashley, Miley, you are first. Go ahead and unmute yourself and ask your question.
Bring it, Ashley.
Hello, John.
Hello, Ashley.
So I just kind of discovered your work and started diving deeper into it in the past couple weeks, and it's just been opening this like level of awareness. And it really started with hearing Patrick's question on last community call, and really kind of opening me in this way where I wanted to kind of ask the opposing question of, you know, in the feminine, how do we really open to be so trusting, to allow our heart to be open and to stay open, to really be able to receive that love that the masculine wants to give. And kind of with the caveat of this idea that you posted last week about weaponizing, because I feel like so much of the time women are like, oh, I'm too masculine and I need to be in my feminine. And we have this kind of like internal war with not feeling like we're feminine enough, but also kind of like hating that masculine in us almost.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, don't do that. Just stop doing that. Okay. So to become more feminine, let's just really simplify it. Like, that's just a fucking word, right? It's got all kinds of dharma and karma and dogma attached to it, lots of pain attached to it over the years. But we needed to pick a word, right? We could make it
Yeah.
Bert and Ernie, I've said, right? Like, Bert is very into stillness and freedom, and Ernie wants to connect and is receptive. I mean, it really, the words don't matter. But what matters is the energetic behind it. And I've said this before, and I'll say it again. What we're hunting for eventually is a complete expression of all of us. We want to be whole human beings, right? So we want to have our capacity to be single-mindedly focused and directed and clear and integral and connected to the unchanging nature of this moment, right? That's what we call the masculine. We want to have that capacity, but we also want to have the capacity to feel and be receptive and emit love, transmit love through our body. And so we want all of that. I just want to say that at the beginning, right? And ultimately, what we have to do in this work, because most of us have denied, neglected, cultivating one part or multiple parts of those pieces of ourself. Especially women for a long time, it's starting to change, but especially women for a long time did not cultivate, the last 50 years, they've been cultivating a masculine because that's what feminism told them to do. It's totally needed and it's great, but it kind of set things out of balance. It was like the pendulum swung a little too far into hard driving success, kind of like we need to compete. We need to be we kind of need to muscle up, I guess, was the unintended message. So how do you become more feminine? Basically, it just means, how do you be more receptive and aware of the sensation? So in this framework, you could just what if you just lifted your heart a tiny bit, right? Right. What if you just softened your solar plexus a little bit? And then do you feel a little more available to the moment just doing that?
Yeah, and I think in a more personal tone of it, I start to also feel this need to close off because I feel unsafe. Just because in
Right.
my experience, yeah. Go ahead.
Okay, so you'll have experience, right? Everybody has experience. Yeah, and I hear this from women all the time, and I'm sorry to cut you off, but it's the common thing. I can't open because I don't feel safe.
Yeah.
And that, whereas, so what you do is you train your body, to close this, which looking at you is what you've done. You've trained your body to kind of hide your heart a little bit. Right? And let's just assume that everybody who decides to love fiercely is going to get their heart broken. Let's just start there.
Yeah.
Right? And if that's, now you don't have to, this is your personal choice. You don't have to love fiercely or love fully or love completely or give it all, or you don't have to. But I think that most people who decide to withhold suffer. Not because they're not getting what they think they want, but because they're not giving what they know they're capable of. Does that resonate with you?
Yeah. Whether it be, I think I've done a lot of work on learning how to give it to myself, but there is that fear of giving it to another person and it being rejected or being abused and hurt by them even.
Yeah. You probably will be, abused and hurt, right? Those are huge words, right? And what the feminine considers abuse is he drops me, or he doesn't see me, right? And oftentimes, now if you're in any kind of relationship where they're physically abusive or emotionally abusive or verbally abusive, then you should leave the scene immediately. But most of the time, what the masculine and feminine consider neglect or abuse is really about, it's just it's not recognizing the differences. So if you're stepping into a relationship, the masculine considers it abusive when you change your mind, when you say one thing and you do another, right? Oh,
Yeah.
what the fuck? Like, it's actually like, it causes our nervous system, right? And when we drop you or get connected, connected to something we're doing, and we don't have you lovingly in our awareness,
Yeah.
that feels like abusive to the feminine. I mean, there's much worse, but I'm assuming you're not a victim of that kind of abuse, or at least not in
Well,
anything abusive like that.
in the context of like that being like an actual like fear of mine, like I experienced like sexual abuse as a child and emotional neglect, and so like
Yeah.
that like trauma
Yeah.
still lives in my body. And so in that way, I've
Yeah.
like always created a wall to not try to connect with anyone, because like my caregivers were the ones who did that. So it's that fear of like I get to choose
Yeah.
someone, but they could hurt me in that regard. But I know that I have this
Yeah.
like part that I like want to share and to express, but there's like so much like fear in that sometimes.
Yeah, well, rightfully so. You've been wounded. And so there's a therapeutic piece to this, right? So the therapeutic piece says, like, yeah, you've got to attend to that wound, and you've got to go back there and feel it, whatever I'm not a therapist, right? But whatever a
Yeah.
therapist would take you to do, to feel that, to create healthy boundaries, to love yourself. And that's the therapeutic approach to healing a traumatic wound. Okay. Now, the yogic approach, or the spiritual approach, is to bring that wound and all of the longings above and beyond it
Mm.
into the moment through your body. The wound does not have to be healed for you to do that. You understand what I mean?
Yeah.
Like the analogy David uses is, if you have a broken leg, you've got to heal the broken leg before you dance. But once the leg is, sufficiently healed a few months in, maybe you just get the cast off, it's still a little sore, it hurts when you do certain kinds of moves, then you learn to dance with that still healing leg. Do you understand what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's kind of where it seems like you are. Like you're learning to dance with a leg that's starting to heal, but not quite there yet. Does that feel right?
Yeah. I feel like I have that like the fear used to be so significant, but the desire and like the yearning to explore that, even if it means getting hurt, is so much greater now than the fear. And it's
Yeah.
like just learning how to like embrace that and express that, and finding the people to be that with and to
Well,
like grow with that way.
I'm glad you brought that up, because you should start with women, right? You should really like go there, like learn how to express your yearning heart, learn how to offer your pain, learn how to reveal the parts of you that feel broken, learn how to share your longing, learn how to embody your desire. All that should happen with women first, in
Mm.
my opinion, right? And because that's kind of how healing can happen. Consider it sort of, I had this bad analogy, but consider it like physical therapy
Mm.
for your trauma, right? Like, when you go to a physical therapist, if you had the broken leg, you would be working in a very safe environment, right? They're not going to make you run up a hill.
Yeah.
There's a very safe environment that you'll be working in, where you'll be held and taken care of. And I think, I mean, your impulse is beautiful. You have a road ahead. I don't need to say it's a long road ahead, because I've seen tons of women who have sexual trauma reveal and open and work with that, that leg that's still kind of injured, and create beautiful art, right? So
Yeah.
you don't need to wait, right? But there is urgency, like you want to love. So
Yeah.
find a woman's group who can take you into your body and let you kind of unwind the wounds that are still there, and be a safe space for your heart. And we see this all the time in our women's program, that there's a place for, it's really important that women learn how to do this amongst themselves first. And then after that feels okay, after you've done that for a year or so, then you go in front of a man and practice revealing that part of your heart that's fearful and longing, like yearns to be seen and is afraid to be seen. That's a very tender, beautiful place. So gentle, which is, it seems like you got like the gentle piece, but also like, you want to be gentle, but you also want to be, stretching a little bit.
Yeah.
Right? I'm a shitty physical therapist if I don't make you, do this exercise, or, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Even though you go, oh, it hurts and there's scar tissue, and you know what I mean? And so maybe I would put you, if you were in one of my women's group, I might put you in the center of a circle of women and have you dance your longing or dance your wound, right? Or do something where you just, right, you're witnessed and seen and moving the energy through yourself while being witnessed and seen. And that clears a lot of that trauma and rewires your nervous system. Because right now, your nervous system, and this is true for so many of us, our nervous system is wired to the wound of our childhood.
Yeah.
Whether it was what you experienced, or whether it was an overbearing father, or whether it was an alcoholic mother, or you know what I mean? We're those things are still stuck in our body, and it's why I'm an embodiment freak, because that's embodiment does things that therapy can't.
Is there, will you just kind of know when you're in a position to be able to go beyond just like being in a group of women and being able to be, with partnership?
You won't know.
Okay.
You won't know. You won't know because you're still picking from the wound.
Yeah.
That's just how we do it. Not just you, my love, like all of us. We pick from our childhood wound until we become conscious of it, and until we've opened through it, right? It never goes away to some degree, but you get more conscious of it, aware of it. It becomes a gift. It becomes an ally. So other people will know better than you. That's why I think it's so important that, if it's not a women's group, then maybe it's a therapy group, or you know what I mean? But other people will know when you feel ready better than you. And this is true for all of us. We can't see ourselves well. Not until lots and lots and lots of practice and work. We need teachers. That's why I still have 3 or 4 teachers that I go to all the time, because I certainly haven't finished my evolution.
Yeah.
So I'll leave you with 3 things. 1, know that if you decide to love fiercely, it's gonna hurt. Just like getting on the dance floor with your still injured leg, it's gonna hurt. 2, you can heal this, but it needs to be in a safe container where you're celebrated, where your wound is seen and loved and acknowledged and not made wrong, given space to breathe, right? And 3, let other people kind of reflect back to you when your body feels open and your heart feels ready. It's okay to take some time. It's okay to take 3 months and just go into a deep process. You may have done this already, but it feels like you might need a little more, right?
Yeah.
It's okay to take time and really keep, like, part of loving yourself. Did I lose you guys? Can you still hear me?
Yeah.
Okay.
You're good.
Part of loving yourself is creating space for healing, right? It's a self-loving act to create 3 months or 6 months and go, I'm just going to let go of dating for a while, or which is hard for a feminine being because you're love driven. But let go of that and be self-love driven through the healing and opening process. Does that give you enough to start?
Yeah, and in ways like there are things that I kind of already intuitively knew, and so it's kind of like you're kind of reflecting that back as like, that is my truth right now, and instead of wanting to reject it because that yearning is so strong, like just recognize this is like the path, and like you can find the yearning within this path too.
Of course, the yearning is beautiful, and you know, please, you know, the quality of person you're going to attract after 3 or 6 months of doing this kind of self-love healing practices, you know, is going to be it's going to be elevated than if you just did it from this kind of unprocessed, sort of confused, you know, rightly confused place. You understand what I mean? And so it's worth the time. It's because, you know, you meet a dude, your wound will be attracting his wound, and then 6 months go by and you're like, oh, you got abused again.
Yeah.
What the fuck, right? Because you didn't actually stop and attend to the healing. Hopefully, you know, we've all done it. There's no judgment at all. I've done it, you know, and 89% of the people on this call have done it, right? But I think the thing that I want the rest of the group to get from your question is like, it's totally cool to stop and heal and be with yourself in the deepest way and the most healing, loving way. I'm doing it myself this year. I'm taking a year to do this. You know, because I still have some grieving and some healing to do and some things to change. And, you know, it's an act of, it's actually an investment. Think of it this way. The dudes will love this because it's, you know, ROI, right? Like, it's an investment in deeper relating down the road, right? So you're investing now in your practice, in your process, so that in 6 months or a year, that investment will start to, you know, bear fruit. It's like planting a seed and watching the tree. You know, you're not going to have that little baby tree. You know, you're going to need to grow and root, and then you'll bear fruit, and that fruit will have this wound in it, will have your yearning in it, will have the tenderness of your heart in it, will have pleasure in your body in it. The fruit will have everything in it, but you've got to give the tree some time to root and grow.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you for your question, Ashley. I hope it works out. Please, you know, check in again in a couple months. Let us know how you're doing.
Will do. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Ashley. Okay, next we have Ashish. Go ahead and unmute yourself.
Thanks, Nicolette. Hey, John, how's it going?
Good, man. How you doing? Good to see you again.
Good, yeah, you too. I don't know if you remember our last conversation.
Some of it, but you know, you can remind me. I remember us talking, so that's a start.
Cool, yeah. So last time we spoke, I was about the girl that I had been doing a long distance sort of open thing with, and so I met up with her, and we really got a lot closer in many ways, and basically came back. I'm back in New York now, but I was in Europe with her for a little bit, and basically got back, and I really could feel that I could just feel her opening. Like I could feel exactly where she was afraid of a more committed thing or a deeper thing, really opening just at an energetic level. And so I was back here, and I really felt in myself a place of clarity that I just didn't want to do this like in between thing with her, where it's like this in between place where there like isn't this clarity about like what the container is. And I knew that even though she kept saying that she wanted to take it slow and everything, I could just feel like she was craving some sort of direction from me. So I just took the leap and was like, I'm ready to try a monogamous thing and like a committed thing, because doing anything other than that long distance, given like the intensity of our feelings for each other, it's just like we're lying to ourselves. We just pretend that it's like a casual long distance thing. I set that container for her, and she basically was just like, basically was like not ready for it, and she was like, I can't do it. And like it definitely hurt me a lot, but I really felt like I was in integrity there, and there
feels that way to me too, man.
Thank you. Yeah, there is like egoic maybe toxically masculine. I don't know if that's too strong a word, but there's an
Mhm.
egoic part of me that is like I'm seeing someone else now who I was sort of like purposefully telling like I can't really see you right now because I'm like trying to figure this
Mhm.
out and I just don't want to be diluting myself. But now I'm seeing this other person, and now that I'm seeing her and I'm like getting a lot of the validation that I wasn't getting from the other relationship, there's a part of me that's just like, oh yeah, just try doing the open thing then and like have like multiple relationships. Because I've never really tried that like at this
Mhm.
level where I have like emotions for multiple people. I've always done it
Mhm.
like from a detached place.
Right.
Um, and so I'm just like, I'm wondering if, I guess I'm having trouble discerning whether this is just like my wound acting up now and being like missing her and missing the one that I can't have,
Right.
or if it's genuinely like an opportunity. Because when I look back on the relationship, I can see how I dropped her in many ways and how like I sort of polarized her into being more masculine. So I'm
Mhm.
wondering if I'm just trying to figure out if there's more growth and learning for me in cutting things cleanly with that girl and just like focusing on the woman who's in front of me here in New York and so much more available, or if there's more growth in like trying the open thing and the multiple
Mhm.
relationship thing, honestly, being honest with everyone involved.
Mhm.
Um, and yeah, I'm just like a little confused about that. So
Yeah. Yeah, that's great, man. Well, I love the question, and I love, both the parts of you exploring, hey, is what's being called for me to do to be open and explore this thing I've never explored? Because I do think it's valuable to explore dating for men and women, or however somebody identifies, dating multiple people at the same time, meticulously and with integrity and with absolute honesty, right? It's a very deep practice, and a very valuable practice, and one that ultimately leaves what I find most people unfulfilled. um, but it's a great practice. I did it, and for a year, basically, in the last 20 years, I took 1 year to do just that because I'd never done it. And no matter how meticulous I thought I was, people got hurt. I got hurt. You know what I mean? Like there was a lot of, it was very hard to do. However, it's valuable. So I just want to say that, however you decide to relate, monogamy or polyamory or solitude or whatever it is, go deep. um, and I'm just curious, do you have a sense, do you have a real strong sense of, of your mission, your purpose, like what's really important for you to give or do or be on the planet right now?
yeah, that's a great question. I really feel like this year I've really prioritized healing myself because I've noticed through this relationship with this woman like how I was so much more fucked up than I thought I was. And so
Hmm.
I'm just like I've been
Yeah.
really focusing on that, and through that I've been realizing that that seems like a very fruitful use of my time to be able to help other people with that because I'm a musician. That's like what
Hmm.
I do for a living. But so I
Hmm.
have been going more into the coaching and that kind of thing, or at least like exploring that. Um, but yeah, I feel like with this woman, I
So
just
if I was going to ask you, Ashish, right? Am I
yep
saying that right? Okay.
yep.
If I was going to ask you, um, what is the most important thing for you to be focusing on right now in your life, the next 3 months, 6 months, 9 months? Like, what's the deepest, we'll use deepest purpose, right? That we'll use that term. Deepest purpose often gets misconstrued. Like I've got to start a nonprofit, or I've got to write a book, or I've got to give this gift, or I've got to da da da. Like, what's the impulse that's coming through you most deeply right now that needs to be attended to? Is it healing? Is that what I'm understanding? Is it a self-healing, or is it
Yeah,
spiritual practice? Is it like, what's most important to you?
it definitely feels like healing, and I think if it was one word that I could boil it down to, it just is like honesty, like just like bullshitting myself way less so that I can like
Mm-hmm.
bullshit other people less. And
Mm-hmm.
that seems to be like the biggest thing is just like trying to get as honest with myself as possible about myself, about the way that I'm relating to people.
Okay, so great. Let's stay with that. Let's stay with that. That's beautiful. So in your heart, how do you want to relate to the feminine right now in your life? Do you want to go deep with one woman? Do you want to explore multiple experiences simultaneously? Like, what's the truth of your heart, if you know it?
Yeah, I think if I'm really being honest, it is that I want to go really deep with one woman.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe that's where I mean, so that's the answer for sure.
Great. So if that's the truth of your heart, then, polyamory would probably not be the play for you.
Right.
Right
I guess,
now,
just. Sorry, I was just gonna say, like, I guess where the confusion is the woman who I ended things with because she like wasn't able to commit at a deeper level. I'm just like, I can't help but think that maybe I just needed to give her like more time because she was opening up. Like she was clearly getting more and more open, but I just like, yeah, I don't know. Like part of me is like, well, maybe I just like wasn't being, I just wasn't giving her the time and patience that she needed. And that's where like
sounds like bullshit, man. Sounds like you're trying to convince yourself to stay in a relationship that wasn't good for you, that you did not want. Forget about not good for you, right? You did not want, right? So the power of our masculine, this is true in anybody, right, is the capacity to own what we want with absolute clarity and integrity. I want to go deep with you. I want to go deep with you in a container where we can go deep, right? I don't want other people's energy in that space, right? Like that's legit, man. That's a legit request.
Yeah,
and
that's what it was for sure.
Yeah, and so own it. Don't let that. So the wound is going to swirl around and say, "Well, you should have done this. If I only this, I see this in men a lot. If I only tried harder, if I was only deeper, more present, more patient, more da 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 da, then she would da 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 da." And I actually think, man, and I've said this before, and you can reject it, but I actually think that you would do well with some fucking space, no relationship, and really go deep with yourself, and really be in relationship with your own heart. I mean, I give this all the time. People are probably tired of hearing it, but it's super important that that there's a, like, what if you just let go of relationship for a while? Because you don't feel truly inspired with this woman in New York. Like she's there.
That's the thing. I'm like, it's like I almost feel like I'm never inspired unless it's like my wound going for it.
Well, that's not unusual, brother. That's how we fall in love. We fall in love from the wound. Oh, they're the one. Like I've known them forever. I mean, I can't say like we're soulmates and no, you're wound mates. You just don't know it yet. Give it a year or two, right? And doesn't mean that they can't stay together for 30 years and heal each other's wounds and do all kinds of beautiful shit. But most of the time when we are like kind of, tugged at somebody from the wounded place, it's our childhood programming, man. I mean, this stuff has been so deeply studied. And the way to break that pattern is to fucking break that pattern and to just be like a good period of time, 3 months or 6 months, where you just let go of the question of relationship completely. And it's just about your art, your purpose, your contemplation, your depth, your deepest practice, your relationship to the moment, to the world, to life. And then don't waste your time or their time. It's so unfair to be with a woman who you're uninspired to be with. She could find somebody who's totally stoked to be with her, and you're not, because you're afraid you're going to be lonely or whatever it is, right? And that's not fair to her. And it's beneath you, if I may be so bold. You know what I mean? Like, it's not your deepest play. Your deepest play is to deepen and wait until a woman comes into your space that fucking rocks your world and that can be with you. And like I was saying to Ashley, that's going to come, from this place of it's going to come from a place of depth, not from a place of kind of just nibbling around with multiple partners. Does that make sense, man? I mean, I'm being kind of firm with you because this is the second conversation we're having.
Yeah, definitely need it. Thank you. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. I did too, just so you know. This was about right after I started doing this work about 12 years ago. I was in a 2.5-year relationship where I didn't behave properly. And, I thought I was a practitioner now and I kind of knew what to do. And, so was she. And we were like just two wounds with good practice, right? That's it. We were two wounds who knew how to practice well. And when it ended, I was like, okay, fuck it. I'm going to get a harem. Like that's what's happening now. And my teacher at the time, a guy named James, who passed away, but he said, no, man, you're going to actually do the opposite. You're going to spend a year alone. You're going to rake leaves in your front yard. You're going to connect to the mundane beauty of life. You're going to let go of relationship completely. And you're going to find out who you really are.
Seems to be the right move right now.
It was for me, bro. It was for me. I look back on that, having been in relationships since then. I look back on that time very fondly. Can't I just go back to raking leaves? Right? Like that's the extent of my, responsibility in life is to make sure my leaves are raked. But I needed that. And I think you'll deepen from it. And you're young enough, man. Same with you, Ashley. You guys are young. Don't short shrift yourself. I mean, this is true even if you're, 40 or 50, right? Don't short shrift your own depth. And so I would say, as somebody you're asking, I would say, hey man, let's make the next 6 months about deepening. Deepen your practice, deepen your meditation, deepen your relationship to your purpose, deepen your heart, deepen your breath, deepen your connection to the moment. And then let her appear. I've written on this before, like let them appear. Do your deepest practice, do your deepest work, and then let them appear. Because I can tell you, and there's 50 women on this call who will say, they're dying for a guy who's doing his work, who's deepening, who's embodied. You will not have to worry about beautiful, heart-centered, practicing women wanting to get to know you if you deepen. You're right, ladies? I mean, I can't tell you how many fucking messages I get. Where are all the dudes? Where are the guys doing the deep work? Where are the guys actually in their bodies? Where, you know what I mean? Like, you probably get, DMs now. So ignore them, and go into this place of deepening. So I don't know if that resonates for you, but that's my intuitive hit.
Yeah, no, it's the tough to swallow pill, but it definitely resonates. So thank you.
Yeah, and like I said to Ashley, find a men's group. Find a group of men who can hold you in that, because stuff's going to come up. But once you stop, and this is true for everybody, once you stop, making the focus external, like the search for somebody or the search for the right kind of love or the search for your partner to do ... Once you stop doing that, you are now forced to be with you and discover who you truly are. And it sounds like you're a guy who has some fear about love, but it sounds like you're a guy who wants a certain kind of love. And finding out who you truly are is the prerequisite. It's foundation for any kind of deep relationship. If you're not clear who you are, what you want, what's important to you, what wounds you're still healing, then you're stepping into relationship with a shaky foundation, and that's not cool for either one of you. It's good to see you again, man. Good luck with that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Ashish. Okay, and next we have Gianni from South Africa. You can go ahead and raise your hand.
Boom. Loving
unmute
it.
yourself and we'll
It's gotta
dive in.
be late there.
Hi. Yeah,
Hi.
it's nearly 5 o'clock in the evening here.
Okay, good to see you. Thank you.
Yeah, really good to be here. Thank you. I guess I'm just wanting some clarity and some guidance from you. I'm deeply devoted to my own process. I've been alone for a year after going through divorce and the end of a relationship, and have really done a lot of exploration. And when I've reflected on past relationships, what I've noticed is a trend in how men respond to me sexually. So there's been a trend of impotence in the men that I've been intimate with. And I'm wondering, when I then trace and track my own sexual energy, it can come forward in a very, I think, in quite a masculine way. It wants to ravage and, devour. And but at the same time, I love to be, devoured. And so I've really been sitting with my desire. I've been sitting with my desire now as I'm ready to engage with, I'm opening to the possibility after having been alone for a long time. And what I've been doing is, every time I'm feeling the impulse to move that energy out, is I'm bringing it back in and sitting with that burn of that desire, and just letting that just burn through my body. And I'm just wondering if you have any tips, or am I on the right track? If you can just,
Yeah, so it sounds to me like you're getting something key, at least in my opinion, in the yoga of feminine sexual practice. Now, just know that the more there's nothing wrong with wanting to ravish and wanting to eat and wanting to consume, right? Nothing wrong with that. But the more that you go forward, you're just going to require a more feminine partner, right? Who can receive your ravishing. Now, in a healthy relationship, we should go back and forth for sure. And are you guys hearing me? I just want to make sure. It looks like a little jumpy, but you still got me? Okay. So in a healthy relationship, it can go back and forth, but it has to be done consciously. So you might practice being with that burn and so the desire to be ravished, right? Be devoured. It's an invitation. And so the more you can make your whole body an invitation, like, I would imagine, because you feel very connected to that energy, I would imagine if you sat with it and you didn't come forward with it at all, you just kind of kept opening as it. That's the way David would put it, opening as it. The more you did that, the more it would literally take you over. Like it would almost be, you'd almost be shaking. Right. Yeah. Okay. That is an invitation. The piece that I'm just intuitively getting, right? That I'm intuitively getting is, so I think you're actually really close on that level. Like, I think you know how to do that, or you're very close to knowing how to do that, and just staying with that. So the piece that, and this is just intuitive, so can I just speak freely?
Please speak freely.
Okay.
Don't hold anything back.
Okay. So the word that comes to my mind is devotion. Is devotion. Because there's nothing sexier to a masculine essenced man, right? This could be the same for a masculine essenced woman, right? Than the devotion to his purpose, his gift to the world, you know what I mean? Sounds like it's hitting. It looks like it's hitting.
Yeah, my life is all about devotion. So this is ringing so true.
Good. So if he can feel, if you create what we would call in the women's program, we would call it sort of the drala of devotion, or the drala of pleasure, and you just stayed steeping in that, your bedroom becomes like shrine of devotion, and right, everything in your life becomes an expression of this deep truth in you, the desire to be devoted, the desire to live in pleasure and to be an invitation of pleasure. And the more masculine your partner is, the less he's going to be able to generate his own pleasure. Just saying that, ladies, for everybody. You want a masculine dude? You want a dude on purpose? He's suffering. He's suffering in his body. He's suffering in the creation of his purpose. He's suffering with the weight he's carrying. He's in his body. He's suffering. Now he feels on purpose. He feels like he's like a fucking bull. But a charging bull doesn't stop to have sex. Unless, right? Unless it's like impossible for them to ignore. So I'm just saying this, the more I've talked to women all the time that want a masculine, a guy who's connected to purpose, connected to consciousness. He will be single-mindedly focused. You will not be the first priority in his life. If you want that kind of man. Right? If you want that kind of man. And so knowing that, being devotion, being pleasure, without a hook that the man has to do something. Now, of course, if there's not reciprocity and there's not like the level of your needs being met over the course of exploring this, then you shouldn't stay. But that it's I see so many women who get these concepts and actually become very good at embodying them. You feel like somebody who's good at embodying these things. But the key piece is true devotion, a true devotional muse, let's say, right? A true sacred muse would not be a demand for his attention beyond deep purpose and talking to God, whatever that look, God, goddess, whatever you want to call it, right? Yeah. Does that make sense? I'm hoping this is landing for other women, because it's coming up a lot in conversations.
This lands so deeply, and I guess that if the full sustenance comes in my own connection to God here, then whatever is reflected outside is just what's happening. And
yeah.
But if it's a fulfillment here without a grasping there.
Yes, yeah. The moment you grasp, even with the most meticulous, beautiful practice, the moment you grasp, he feels a demand for his attention. And if he's got other shit going on, it will occur as burden. And he's, masculine, right? And he's more masculine. It means he's more freedom-driven and purpose-driven than love-driven. That's all that means, right? You can ditch the term masculine if you want, right? But the more purpose-driven and freedom-driven a human being is, the more even your pristine, beautiful devotional practice, if it has any grasping in it, he'll feel it and it will occur as a burden. Does that make sense? Yeah. I hope it makes sense for the other women who are having these, this conversation too. And I'm sure it's going to kick up some comments. But so what I would recommend you do is I would recommend you you keep doing what you're doing, because it feels like you're on the right track with your embodiment piece. I would go through and consider, and we do this in the women's program, but I'll just give you the bones for it. I would consider a masculine reconciliation.
Okay. Where
you go back over the last 20 years and you look at all of the places where you didn't bring or you wouldn't let them lead. You rejected his leader. I mean, there's a series of questions that we ask. Where did you reject his leadership? Where were you castrating? Where were you graspy? Where were you withholding? Where were you, right? And you get super clear on that part, on the way that this stuff is in your body. And then you go back to that man, if he'll have this conversation, and you clear that up completely. And what it does is it resets your relationship to the masculine, right? Completely, right? So it's a little bit different. It's more of a shamanic practice, actually. It's a Carlos Castaneda practice, yeah. than a yogic practice, but it unhooks anything that's still hooked in these past relationships, so that now you're free, right, and you have a shit ton of awareness of, ooh, there, I just did it again. I just did it with this new guy, even though I just apologized last week to the old guy. And there I was, like rejecting his leadership. So you occur to me as a woman who could probably lead herself pretty damn well.
Thank
right?
you. It's true.
Yeah. And maybe even lead the man you're with better than he can lead. Right. And that, and I'm just guessing here, right? If a man feels that his woman is a better leader than him, and he's not, like, he hasn't signed up for that, or he hasn't done the work on that, it will affect his libido.
Yeah.
It will affect his capacity to show up sexually, because there'll be a part of him that feels dead, asleep, numb,
Yeah.
And it's not like you have to dim your light. It's more like if you want his capacity to shine, you have to relax your capacity in that area. Yeah. Because everybody can feel this. Like, she's got her shit together, right? Like, like you feel like there's a woman like who's kind of got her shit together, probably successful in business, probably like, whatever it is, like she's put together, and it's all very put together. And so the more you can cultivate, I'll just close with this, the more you can, if you go back and you can literally, clean up any of the karmic stuff that's still open, the karmic accounts that are still open, however you want to frame that. And simultaneously, in the moment to moment experience of your life, live the desire, wait in the desire of invitation, the practice of invitation, of like, I'm just going to keep waiting and keep waiting. Oh, it hurts. Oh, I'm so like hungry, and I'm so juicy, and I'm so right. And it'll hurt.
It does.
But it's like a beacon. It's like a beacon, though, that men will feel. And the more you can be in that space, the more you can bring alive, right, men. So if you're dating,
I hear you.
Right?
That's bringing it forth. It's inviting it to come forth.
Right. And it's giving it as a gift, right? So the yearning, the aching, the divine juiciness, all of that stuff that you cultivate through your embodiment practice. Now, what you do is you make it your practice, let's say your gift, to make him come alive from it. Right.
So beautiful.
Which you'll notice, because he'll get hard, and he'll be full, and he'll feel good, and he'll like, he'll be like, yeah, like, okay. Right. And that is a rare and beautiful gift, right? To not only cultivate devotion, pleasure, yearning, invitation in your body, but now to just make it like the most generous, like, I just want to make you feel alive. I want you to be happy to be alive without
any attachment.
Right. Well, I mean, being aware of your needs. This is tricky, right? This always gets misconstrued. But the more that your needs can be, met by your own practice and your own relationship to the divine, and your own juiciness, and your own connection to the ocean and the jungle and the wildlife, and then gifted as a way to bring him into his body. If he is a man on purpose, single-mindedly focused, super connected to the desire for freedom, that will be beautiful to him. Now, to do this without giving up your needs, without denying your own needs, right? That's tricky, but it's totally doable. And it's the relationship quandary.
And that would come down to the fact that whatever needs arise here, they're my needs. and to be met here first, and to be clear about them. And if there is a expression that needs to come, it can come clearly as that this is my need.
Yeah. So you may need to see him. Let's get specific here.
Yeah.
You might need to see him and have deep, beautiful, juicy sex twice a week. Like that might be like to be right. And you mean, I just need consistent, like, I just, you know, you can go off and, you know, hunt the tiger the rest of the week, but I need you with me in my bed 2 nights a week. And you're clear, like that's a need, right? Right. Or I need us to be monogamous and devotional. I don't care if I see you once a month, but I need, as long as I know, I need us to be you know, that's a need. And if you're with somebody who you know, who's like giving you the information that they can't meet that need, then that's the wrong person.
Yeah.
Then your practice should go somewhere else.
Totally.
Right. But to get super clear, here's what I see so much of, and it's like, I'm bringing this beautiful practice, I'm bringing devotion, and blah, 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 right? But they're with somebody who can't meet the need. So they deny their own needs, and then they get mad at him, but he's made it really clear that's not a need that he can meet. And I hope this is making sense for everybody else, right? Because this is kind of becoming, you know, this is a really important piece. Let me just frame it like this. Gianni is how I say your name, yeah?
Yeah. Thank you so much.
So let me frame it like this. For those of you who know David's work, the second stage is about recognizing you're becoming a whole human being, masculine and feminine, personal practice, that like becoming whole as a human being. Then on top of that, you can build third stage practice, sacred practice, you know, the devotional yoga, all that stuff. If you try to bring the third stage practice while you have not healed or are not actively healing, clear on your own needs, aware of your own needs, right? You know, then you're building, you're basically, it's the quintessential lipstick on a pig. Like you could dress it up to be the hottest pig, you know, in the barn, but it's still like, I still have all these shadows, and I'm still so angry at men, and I'm still like, and I still don't even know what my needs are, and I'm, you know, it won't matter, and you'll just weaponize your practice on your partner, because and I'm not saying you, I'm just talking generally now, haven't really lived in that space of creating true wholeness in your own body, which includes, you know, cultivating your own masculine and feminine. And you haven't really dropped into, hey, here are my needs. Here are the things that I need in order to show up and give these gifts. So I hope that helps.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Very grateful.
Thank you for joining us. You know, thank you from across the pond.
Thank you.
Way across the pond.
Way.
Thank you.
We have time for one more, Nicolette?
Yeah, I think we should keep going. we're on a roll.
I imagine. Okay.
All right. So Patrick, come on in.
Thanks for having me. Can you all hear me all right?
Hey,
John.
Yep, we can hear you well. Good to see you, man.
Thanks.
You feel better than you did last time. Well, you felt great then too, but you feel more filled with joy and life.
Yeah. Thank you for that. Yeah, last call brought a lot, not just on the call either, but in the time since. Anyway, so my question, what I want to go into is something you brought up earlier, being in relationship with my own heart. I mean, you nailed it. You nailed it. I've reflected that, like, you know, in the last couple of weeks of doing like 2 hours of practices a day just to like move through and be with what is and kind of getting to greater clarity, that one thing that comes up, I've polarized women into their masculine. My last 2 girlfriends, I did that with them. And essentially I chose women who were for me arousing and turned me on because of their feminine essence, but then I proceeded to run into my patterns. which had me actually.
You're not alone, bro. There's a lot of guys that do that. I've certainly done that. That's a common weird dynamic that has developed over the last 20 years.
20 years, really?
20, 30 years. Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. Yeah, because I think really because men now are, well, we could get into the whole generational thing, but we have 2 or 3 generations now of men who were not raised with fathers for the most part, right? I don't know if that's your history, but who the father principle have not, been installed, so to speak.
For me, it's like the figure of a strong man, like a masculine essence with whom I can then tune myself to as a child growing up.
Right. Okay. So it's not unusual and this kind of connects to what I just said. So when you haven't done that second stage work, that healthy work to deal with your own demons, your own reactivity, your own shadows, your own kind of wounds, let's say childhood wounds, it will be a strong pattern for a masculine essence man to pick a woman with a feminine essence, but then once they commit, the wound kicks in and puts them in a place where they then reject you, so to speak, yes. Right? That's yes. A common thing that I see. I've worked on it myself. It's a big piece of the work.
Nailed.
Yeah. Is that okay? Nailed. Okay. So that's where you're at. So great. So how can I help you? How can I help you today?
So something that clicked is, and it just today, I want to do a taste test to see if this is true. I may have somewhere gotten confused and mixed up the difference of giving love versus taking or needing or grasping. Again, due to lack of providing it myself, due to lack of having my own inner masculine structure, due to my own relationship with my own inner feminine. Like I'm seeing the ways that, everything from like the way that I describe, like you mentioned, self-referral, was that it?
Self-referencing. Yeah.
Like just little ways that, cracking my knuckles, cracking my neck, little ways of my masculine essence, again, to use the archetypes, trying to escape the moment without my consciousness even realizing it. There are all these little ways I'm masterful at trying to escape. And I think I've to some degree even used that under the guise of love to try to get attention, to try to get connection. So I guess my question is like, how have you sussed this out in yourself? If this is something you have experience with or witnessed in other men, really getting a taste test, the difference between a genuine give, like my card 3 is fucking emotional presence.
That's what you desire, but didn't get as a child.
And
just for everybody else who has no idea what card 3 is.
So
what
I
you didn't get,
but child, what I wanted most as a child and didn't get was, and also, and I wish that this person, my partner, would give me. And I've now realized there's a third part to it. The only way I can actually transcend my wound, the only way I can turn that into an exalted gift is to give this freely, give this proactively, unconditionally, to give this to myself. And
right. And that is the stage of development that you're at. So let's talk about, these are like stages of development, man.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, and if we had good parents, right? Parents who loved us, like, they couldn't meet every need all the time. Right. And so, this part of our emotional development, is like I was saying before, it's required for the practice that you're talking about, right? It's required. So I think you're right in a sweet spot of like, and I would also recommend, like I did to Ashish, I would recommend that you take time, man, after this relationship unwinds. You take time. Nicolette's nodding. So the Oracle is also like giving you her seal of approval, right? Take some time, man, and really be with, because you already feel better, you feel deeper. Let's say you feel deeper, you feel more grounded, you feel like you're more in your body. And be with those things and really work on cultivating. You know, we hear this all the time about, yeah, hey, I need to cultivate my masculine. Well, that needs to happen in conjunction with you cultivating and shepherding and being a safe space for your own feminine, which I think you get. I think you're getting that, both of these things have to happen at the same time for us to truly be whole, to go back to what I just talked about, right? So you're in this place where you're going to need some space to find out who you truly are, what you truly want, what your limitations are. Like you said, like you fidget or you crack, that's just a limitation. So it just means like, oh, I can't actually like stay still for 30 minutes and be with somebody, right? And that's cool because that can be practiced, right? So it really does feel like you're in that space of true discovery, self-discovery. And it's a fucking gift. We never think it's a gift when we're in it because it's painful and it's lonely and it's filled with yearning and we never think it's a gift, but it is a gift. And so I would say, Patrick, take this time to, cherish. I said, be with your heart. I'm going to say, cherish your own heart. Go, just like I did today. Like it's been a big piece of all the practices that I'm doing. It's feel the bottom of your heart, right? So think of it this way. What's the feeling that you're most aware of right now?
A resistance to breathing. My diaphragm, kind of like a stillness.
Okay, so resistance, right? So let's just call it resistance.
Sure.
So take that resistance and just breathe with it normally, like just breathe with the resistance. Breathe the resistance in. Like let's not fight it. Let's just breathe it in. Okay. And then I want you to take that resistance into that base of your heart. Take the resistance into the base of your heart. And so you can actually feel the resistance and what might be underneath the resistance into the base of the heart. Now open your eyes and look at us. Okay. You just deepened. You guys can feel that? Ladies, you can feel that? You just deepened. And people say like, what the fuck does it mean to deepen? I'm going to be really specific. Take whatever's happening now in your body and bring it into the root of your heart. Now, start there. That's how you that's how you are with your heart. It's literal. It's literal, right? So you could be feeling like so right there, you felt some joy, right? You felt some joy.
Yeah.
So now, yeah, so great. So when we feel joy, we elevate, right? We want to elevate, which is totally cool, but take that joy and bring it in, like deepen it by bringing it into the bottom of your heart. Don't drop the joy, like stay with the joy, but bring it deeper. Can you feel that?
It's actually a little trickier with joy, interestingly.
Yeah, it is a little trickier with joy. Yeah, it is.
Because it wants to go up.
But anything can be, you can bring anything deeper into your heart by literally going to the deepest fucking place of your heart and bringing it in. It takes a little practice. With joy, it'll take a little more practice. But it's a deeper joy. So the way that you'll experience it is that rather than it being like a bubbles that dissipate, it will be a recognition of the blessings that are all around you and just how fucking great it is to be alive and how cool it is that you and I are having this conversation and how fucking blessed you are and how much you get the difference.
I had the embodied visual and experience of like overlooking a beautiful field with the sun in the background and the plants swaying in the breeze. Less of a buzzing kind of almost like a drug-like high that then has a crash.
Yeah.
More of like this profound, like
Deep joy.
Yeah.
Deep joy and gratitude. And you know what I mean? Like, I mean, you put the words that you like, but yeah, that's exactly right. It's a deeper experience of joy. And all you
Wow.
did was pull it into that base of your heart, that root of your heart, the root of your heart. I hope you guys can leave with this. The root of your heart is the place to bring everything. Bring everything. Anything. You're feeling grief, bring it down into the root of your heart. Feel it from there. You're feeling turn on, bring it down to the root of your heart. Feel it from there. And when you do that, it's like you're putting it into the hub, the energetic hub of your body that stretches everywhere, right? You do that long enough, you bring turn on into the root of your heart, all of a sudden your genitals are just going to get like filled with a pulse of energy. Your fingers, your mind, your whole body. It's like this is the hub. And most of the time we take these emotions and we either unconsciously kind of lose track of them, or we put them in our mind and think over them. And I'm giving you this very specific practice, Patrick, because it's the practice I want you to do. I want you to really, as you go through this probably confusing emotional period, ending a relationship, stepping into, you know, kind of a new life, you're going to have all kinds of shit come up. Nothing wrong with that. All good. Just root it in the bottom of your heart, in the base of your heart, in the deepest place of your heart, and be with it. And then what's next? Does that feel like a practice you can be with?
The grandest irony is that all these aphorisms are actually very literal.
Isn't it? Yeah,
They're-
go into your heart. I'm saying, like, really go into the deepest part of your heart. Use breath, use awareness, literally take the joy deeper into your heart, take the grief deeper into your heart, right? Take it all deeper into your heart. Does everybody else get a sense of what I'm talking about? Can you guys feel that in yourself? Okay. Because it is quite literal. It is quite literal. And it's there's, you know, that it's kind of the foundation of deep embodiment work. Once we for the women I'll speak to now, if you're going to bring pleasure through your body, through your fingertips, through your genitals, through your hips, through all of you, but you have not connected, you aren't resting in that, you know, you haven't brought the yearning or the desire deep into that place in your heart I'm talking about, then this is kind of, it doesn't have the depth and the weight that a good man, a conscious man, is going to require. I hope that makes sense. And for the men, like, you know, your capacity to do what Patrick just did, and to take your emotions or your reactivity or your anger and root it deep into your heart, and then get conscious from there, literally conscious from the root of your heart, will impact the way that you lead the moment, or are present in the moment, or direct the moment, or claim the moment, much, much more. And I think that's a foundational practice that is often missed in this work, and I'm glad we got to touch on it today.
May I ask one final point?
Yeah, and then we'll close for the day.
Thank you. Mm-hmm. Even in this moment, as I'm calming my breath, I'm noticing, and this has happened, I've been using the Sistema breath meditation and the deep root wide heart. Just now, as with the deep root wide heart, I notice my body start to feel a trembling, like a vibrating. Yeah. So I guess my question is this an invitation to go deeper into that?
Yeah, moment to moment, you're feminine, your sensations, the sensations, emotions. The moment you deepen your breath and you ground and you go deeper into your heart, you're probably going to get sad or have some grief, right? And you don't want to stuff that. You want to move that, express that. Honor would be the word that I'm talking about, right? You want to honor that. You don't want to like masculine practice over it. Okay? But you don't want to detach from the earth or from the root of your heart. So the practice is how to, and I want you to practice this when grief comes up. Like, how do I grieve? How do I wail, cry, moan, ache from the deepest part of my heart and not leave it, not detach from it? This is true for women too, or for anybody listening to this, right? Like, if you grieve from that root of your heart, something will deepen in your grief. Something will be made available from a very deep part of your heart. And it, like you said, man, it is literal. So yeah, if you feel trembling, tremble from the base of your heart. If you feel turn on, feel the turn on from the base of your heart. If you feel anger, like really bring it and feel it from that place. It will infuse, let's say it will infuse richness into everything you do. If you're having sex, connect, like fuck her from that deep place in your heart, right? If you're the feminine, receive his cock into the root of your heart. I'm being literal here, right? And we didn't get into much sexual work here, but just take that. If you just take that, you're 99.9 percent ahead of everybody else who's practicing sex these days. So I want to say thank you, Patrick. Thank you, brother. Good to see you, man. And thank you for being such a deep dive into the practice and into the work. It shows. I'm sure those of you who were here last month can attest to that as well. If this was valuable to you, please consider donating. We're really, if my home state, the state I love, is getting ravished by fires. There's a lot of people who are homeless, who lost their homes, or firefighters who are busting their fucking asses. If this felt good, $5, $3, $10, $100, whatever feels right, please do that. And I think you'll feel better doing it as well. At least that's my hallucination. We're going to do this again next month. Nicolette has all the details. I feel honored every time you guys trust me with these things, because I know this is very tender material and very tender spots in your heart. So thank you for showing up again. And Nicolette, I'll turn it back over to you.
All right, thank you. Thanks, John. Thank you everyone who asked questions. And I put a bunch of links in the chat box. We'll see you next month, Tuesday, November 3rd, same time, same place. And look forward to being with all of you again soon. Take care.